Today I want to introduce you to a game called Dropzone. Dropzone went into early access last night on Steam and I ended up playing it for quite a couple of hours. Now just for transparency's sake, before we talk about anything that has to do with the game, the live stream that I did last night was indeed sponsored by the developers of the game, but this video is not. I just simply wanted to go ahead and share with you my initial impressions of the game, because I think for those of you that enjoy StarCraft, which is what my channel is mostly about, this may very well be a really interesting game for you, as I personally actually enjoyed it more than I had anticipated initially. Now, when I first heard of Dropzone quite a couple of months ago, I think it must have been like closed beta or whatever, I heard of it being described as like a MOBA with RTS elements to it, and I heard that and I wasn't all too excited. I mean, let's be honest, the MOBA market as it is right now is already extremely saturated and getting your piece of that pie is pretty much impossible. However, what did spark my interest is, well, first off, they mentioned the RTS elements, but when someone told me it's primarily focused on 1 versus 1. There are a couple of other game modes in the game as well. I'm not going to be covering those in this video, but what I do want to talk about is the 1 versus 1 aspect, because I actually ended up really enjoying myself, and I think it's a very cool concept. Now, even though the game went into early access last night, and I've only managed to play right about 4 to 5 hours or so of it so far, I do feel like it's enough to at the very least give you my initial review of the game, because as far as like, you know, depth goes, it's not like it's the most complicated game. However, when you want to be discussing strategies, there's like tons of different options available, and I'll try and briefly explain that to you as well. Now, I think the easiest way to explain what this game is all about is to just simply jump into a game against an AI. So that is exactly what I am doing right now. Now, first off, I want to introduce you to the main objective of each and every match, and that is to try and get as many points as you possibly can. Now, as you can see, this is still early access. I am getting some minor lag spikes at very random moments. I'm not entirely sure. But I basically have got 3 of these pilots available. And throughout this round, as you can see, it will take a total of 15 minutes. I gotta try and score points. That is basically like the main objective of the game, and the one thing that you really want to try and keep in mind as long as you are playing this, because it seemed like at least a couple of the players that I faced on the ladder didn't really, you know, collect all too many points, and they didn't really realize that that is the main objective of each and every game. So the way you collect those points is by either completing these tasks right here in the bottom left corner. So in this particular case, we got the Hive Buster, the Total Vision, as well as the Alpha Strike. These do change out depending on each and every match. But more importantly, you can go ahead and collect these sort of like charms in the, you know, different piles on the map. So as you may have noticed, there's this circle right here on the map. And what happens is I can start fighting these monsters. Now, I will just simply not control anything and not do anything special in this particular match. But just know that in this particular game right here, right now as well, somewhere on the map, and you can obviously see the mini-map right here in the corner, there is another player, or in this instance a computer, that is also trying to complete this. Now, every single time you kill one of these bosses right here, or any of these, I don't know exactly what they're called. They sort of look like the Zerg. I mean, I'm a StarCraft nerd, what can I say? But anyways, every single time you destroy one of these guys, they will drop either 1, 2, or 3 of these sort of like purple sparkling thingies. And you can collect those with any of your commanders, or pilots I believe is what they are called, and you can bring those to the central part of this map. Now, of course, in this instance, I may very well come across the opposing, you know, player that I am going up against right now, or the computer rather. But the idea is that you simply go ahead and turn in these points with the commander that currently has it available, and you obviously are gonna have to face off against other people and other players that are gonna try and do the exact same thing. So right now, for example, my pilot right here called Warhead is turning in one of the things, and this will indeed net me 1 point. So that's really like the basic goal of the game. However, there is a lot more to it, and I think this is where it gets quite interesting. So each of the commanders have got different abilities available. Currently, I've got one right here called Recon. Then I've got Warhead, who is going to be my tank. And then last but not least, we got Cortex as well, who is going to be my mechanic. Now, you can indeed only have 3 pilots in each of your loadouts available. So each and every mission is just going to be simply 3 heroes versus 3 heroes on the other end of the map as well. And you're gonna end up, you know, playing against another opponent, right? Now, where it gets really interesting is that there are indeed different classes on these heroes available. So, for example, Cortex right here is a mechanic, basically sort of like a healer. Then we obviously have Warhead, who is going to be a tank. I mean, he sort of looks like a tank as well. And then we've got a gunner in Recon, and Recon for me is going to be focused a lot on damage. Whereas obviously he's going to be my healer, and then we've got Warhead as the tank. Now, what makes it really cool is that you can create different loadouts, and I can change these commanders up as much as I would like to. So as you can see right now, my recon is level 4. It doesn't really seem to impact anything else. It just seems that, you know, you level up whenever you play him a bunch more, so you look a little bit more badass. But other than that, it's not like he becomes more powerful than Fury, if my understanding is correct. But if I really badly wanted to, I could also swap out for any of these under commanders that are currently available right here. And as you can see, there is also a category called Summoner. I have yet to mess around with those, but they seem to have different kinds of objectives and different kinds of, you know, skills and strengths as well. But I like these 3 dudes right here, as they seem to just simply work out very, very well for me. Now, besides being able to choose a squad of 3 of these pilots, you can also customize each of the pilots as well. And for example, you may have noticed already that Warhead has got a whole bunch of sparkling things right here at the bottom side of the screen. I can swap pretty much all of these out. So say, for example, I do not like his basic attack of a flamethrower, which, you know, you can actually see right there. I could change, for example, to something like the pulverizers, which will both actually like change the ability up right there, as well as the, you know, what Warhead looks like. So basically the machine that he's running. I believe they call it like a rig or something. Now, I don't really want to change out my flamethrower, but it does become rather interesting. In particular, that whenever you kill the dudes that are on the map, right? Whenever you kill like the minions that spawn, you gain experience. And every single time you get a level up, you can choose one of the 3 pilots to get a level up as well. So, for example, if we choose right here to Recon, you may have noticed that at the bottom of the screen, it shows different kinds of levels for each of these abilities. So every single commander at the beginning of every match begins at level 1, just, you know, as you may have already expected. However, if I decide to level up Recon, he will be able to get to a higher level. If I get him to level 2, and I, for example, spent my very first level on that, then it seems like in each mission, at the very least in like the games that I have played, you gain like, I don't know, roughly 10 or so levels if the game goes all the way until the very end, and sometimes a little bit less, I guess, but you get roughly like 10 or so levels. If I, for example, decide to level up Recon right here to level 2 with my first level that I gain, he will unlock 2 abilities. So on him, I got the Recon Rocket Cluster, which is basically like a circle that deals damage to other enemies that are nearby or caught into it. And I can also get this thing called Recon's Conductive Spike, which basically stuns enemies, and when the, you know, basically it automatically stuns enemies around him whenever he takes heavy damage. And on top of that, I've got the boosters right here at level 4, and last but not least, at level 5, we got the Orbital Strike, which is sort of like an ultimate. And it basically allows me to really focus on, you know, one specific strategy that I have got in mind. Now, one of the cool things that I've noticed on the ladder while playing some quick matches yesterday is that there are people out there with completely different setups, and they work out brilliantly as well. Of course, as far as my other heroes go, right here I've got Cortex. Like I said, he is mostly my healer. One of the most important abilities, however, that he also has is going to be the Positron Condenser. This is something that I didn't actually run in my first games, but in the last ones, I guess they have turned out to be pretty much crucial, as this is going to be a level 2 stun that he gets, and then at level 2 he also gets to Repair Bubble, which allows me to like put a circle around, you know, my heroes, but also the opposing heroes if I'm not careful, to heal everyone up. And basically, all of my pilots right here have got different kind of roles. So the way I've been approaching my current strategy, right, before we jump into a match, the way I've been approaching my strategy is to have Warhead tank most of the damage. As he may have already noticed, he also got simply more default HP. He's got 1,325, whereas, for example, Recon right here at level 1 has got 800, and then Cortex got 1,005, or 1,050. Warhead is going to be simply tanking most of my damage, and I level him up initially to level 2. The reason for that is that Warhead allows you to get a bunch of really powerful abilities. And as you can see, I've actually purposefully chosen to never get him past level 2 in any of my matches. As you can see, all of his abilities pretty much unlock at level 2. I don't really care too much for his ultimate either. I mean, if we get there, it's great, but I don't really focus on it. Instead, I focus on leveling up Recon in the game. But first off, I get Warhead to level 2. Now, he's got the flamethrower ability. I can activate that to do a bunch of damage. I can also use the shredder field, which is basically like a circle around him. I guess I can show it to you just like that, which is pretty badass. It deals a lot of area of effect damage. And I can also use this thing called Warhead's Landfall, apparently, which is basically like sort of a jump that I can use to either chase someone down or to give him some additional movement. And it's a pretty cool way because none of these abilities are actually focused around mana or whatever. They're just simply only focused on a bunch of cooldowns. So oftentimes these cooldowns are rather long, but as far as my current strategies go, I level up my Warhead tank initially to level 2 so I can quickly take out all of the objectives on the map and, you know, also start potentially dealing some damage to the enemies. Then at my second level up, I go ahead and get Cortex to level 2 as well. As you can see, a lot of his abilities also unlock at that level. And afterwards, I focus on Recon only to really make sure that we get all of his abilities, and eventually I'm trying to get him to level 5. Alright, so it's time for a match. So here's what I can do, right? I can move all of my guys individually, but I can also move them all at once if I want to. The cool thing about that is that I, for example, can immediately send Warhead to my very first objective right there and start him off on the aggressive point right away. This way I can spend some additional time on my mechanic right here to get the watchtower, and I'm gonna be able to start pushing onwards immediately. One of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of people that are currently playing the game, obviously it really went into like early access yesterday, and while there has been some, you know, alphas before this and some more stuff. I'll level up Warhead initially, by the way, like I said already. A lot of people are just simply trying to focus on, you know, getting all of their heroes in one big clump. And while that is alright as well, and while it can work out just fine, I find in many instances it's probably better to not do so. Now, as you can see, there's actually some aggression coming towards my watchtower. I don't really want that, but I do still want to continue creeping here as well. So I'm actually going to try and see if I can start attacking their tank right here as well, who turns out to be also Warhead. Now I'm going to be jumping here with my Warhead to see if I can potentially move around here. And all of their heroes are somewhere out on the map right now as well. As a matter of fact, I think I may very well be able to start pushing onwards here, because he's playing extremely aggressive. Of course, this is going to be a computer-controlled AI. But I will be able to start doing some damage to him here and micro my way out of that engagement, and indeed, I do end up killing him as well. Now, once again, I want my tank to be focusing the damage mostly, so we can quickly start taking this dude out here as well. And once again, I get an upgrade for who I choose Cortex. Now, there are, as you can see, a few bonus objectives on the map, right? For example, Total Vision will give me an additional bunch of points. So if I can try and grab some more vision, that would be an extremely helpful way of playing this one out. So I'm gonna actually try and be aggressive and get closer towards their base. Obviously, they will heal up in that area. And see if I can potentially even start pushing onwards here as well. So I am grabbing this tower. Don't know if I'm going to be able to do a whole lot. There's actually quite a bit of aggression coming out of them now as well. So you know what? I'm going to try and just simply move back. And I think I want to jump out of trouble there and move my heroes backwards. Now I can turn in the one that I've got right now, grab the watchtower on my other hero, but of course I don't really want to have him dying either. And slowly we are indeed moving onwards. Now of course I can indeed send him back as well towards the base, which I think I am indeed going to end up doing here, because my heroes are starting to run a little bit low. Now, of course, I can cancel the opposing turn-in as well, right? We don't really want to, you know, have them turn in any additional points here either, if we can at all avoid it. So I'm going to put up my defensive bubble now, making sure that I get as many of those as possible. And I don't think I'm going to be able to chase him down, but I can try and jump about him, see if we can potentially pick him up if he decides to turn around. Turns out that that is not really going to be the case. But you can see, there's a lot of different setups, right? And considering you can change a lot of the abilities out, and then a lot of the other heroes as well, there is a ton of potential. Right now, I managed to kill him while turning in one of the points already. Looks like he's actually trying to get the watchtower once again, which is a bit of a pain. Although, he may actually try and push onwards here. One of the things about my healing bubble, by the way, on Cortex, is that it indeed does focus quite a lot of damage, and it also deals, or rather it does do a whole lot of healing, but it also heals up the enemies if you're not paying attention. Now, all of my pilots can only hit one of those things at once, right? Which is very important to keep in mind. I once again do want to get that thing back as well. Plus I want to see if I can grab potentially the objective here. I will make sure that I queue up my ability here of my tank to start pushing towards the top right. And if I could grab this actually, that would be huge. Because if I could grab all the watchtowers right now, I'm going to get an additional 2 points. And as you can see already, it is 3-2-0. I'm getting both of them right now. Cortex can start moving onwards. And I got him. I got him. So that gives me an additional 5 points. And you can see, there's a lot of strategy involved that can make this extremely interesting. Now, obviously, there's still a lot of practice that needs to be done here as well. Ideally, you know, we want to be very careful here about our positioning. And, you know, obviously the AI is not the smartest thing in the world. Now, there is a more difficult version of it. Oh, we nearly got him. Oh, I still got him there. But you can see there is a lot of options, or there are a lot of options available to really make this a very in-depth kind of strategic game. And right now, of course, while I have been killing a bunch of them, I haven't been leveling up. And you can see my squad level in the top left corner is level 5, whereas theirs is currently level 7. This does mean that there is a way to come back in this match, right? Because if they get like for example, a really nice level lead, because killing these heroes, by the way, does not grant me any additional levels. If they get like a really nice level lead, there is a potential for them to start killing us, as I simply will not be able, you know, to start taking down their heroes, as they will indeed have a higher level. So right now it is 6-0, which is fine and dandy, but that does not necessarily mean that we are already extremely far ahead. So you know what? I think I'm going to start moving to the bottom here as well. I want to try and see if I can potentially start taking out 2 of these things here as well. So we'll grab the watchtower here initially. I do also want to actually have my tank over at this location, so we'll once again jump him across. And we'll start taking down this camp right here as well. Now, one thing to note is that the things we kill right here level up. So initially they only drop 1 of the gems, but secondly, afterwards, they're going to be taking out several gems as well. And that makes it rather interesting, as in many instances, and they actually did just manage to get Eradicate, which is a little bit unfortunate for me. But in many instances, the, you know, commanders will become rather powerful very quickly. And in many instances, the fight will indeed happen at the objectives here as well. So, for example, these things do take a little bit of time to respawn as well, which is a bit unfortunate. Oh, well, there we go. Speak of the devil. Okay, so I got my stun off. And trying to target fire down here to the best of my abilities, while also controlling all of my heroes as best I can. Very good. And now we can indeed pick this one up and set up the healing bubble as well, which once again does affect enemies as well as myself, so I don't really want to heal up my enemies for obvious reasons. So you can see, right, there's a lot of potential in here. And one of the cool things as well is that, while this is currently still in early access, right, so that it's still a little bit buggy and there's still some issues as well that you will run into. There is a lot of potential here. They're adding on a lot of new maps. There is no single player or whatever in this game as it is right now. I don't think they've got any intentions of adding that either. While there is a 2 versus 2 mode as well with a single map at this point, I've yet to try that out because there aren't a whole lot of people playing it right now. But the potential is definitely there. Like, I've had some really epic engagements where, you know, you don't really know exactly if you are going to be very far ahead. Because there's only so many things that you can do. Once again, managed to get that stun off, by the way, which is very good. And I'm going to try and focus down their tank. Now, one thing to note about their tank, of course, is that he will do more damage than my other commanders will. Or he will be able to take more damage, rather, than my other commanders can. Which is a bit unfortunate, and I think they may very well be able to get out of there. One thing you may have already seen here as well is that all of the different abilities have got really long cooldowns. So you can't really, like, risk it all too much. At the bottom side of this particular map, there's this like skull icon, right? Now you are definitely gonna need all 3 commanders for that. I currently don't even know if they've got any of the gems. Regardless, as you can see, this one is yet to respawn as well, by the way. But regardless, you can start fighting these really big dudes. I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to properly do that right now, because they do a stupid amount of damage. They do a crazy amount. But if you manage to get this, of course, you do level up a ton as well, which is very nice, but this is like a sort of like a risk-reward kind of situation, right? If you do this properly, you may very well be able to, you know, get yourself a nice level lead, as you do indeed get some powerful buffs here as well as a good level upgrade. But this is, for example, a way to come back into the game. So if I loot this thing right now, we will indeed get a damage boost for a little while. So it's sort of like, for example, like a red buff, I guess, or like a blue buff in, for example, like Dota and League, right? Where it really makes you a lot more powerful. But it's only going to last for a little bit of time. Of course, I can also use this to take out these things a little bit faster, which should be fine and dandy. And once again, with some proper positioning, I should be able to do quite a little bit of damage to them. Once again, gonna try and see if I can get around them and really take him out. Now you can see the damage boost is significant. We are gonna be able to easily take that dude out, and apparently their widget, one of their healers, one of their mechanics, is gonna end up falling as well, because he was completely caught out of position. Now, as it is right now, right, when you're on the ladder, most people are indeed keeping all of their things very closely together. We did, by the way, manage to interrupt them right there, which is good. But all of the people on the ladder right now, at least the ones that I have played mostly, really like sort of keep everything together. They keep all of their commanders in one big clump. And while that certainly can work out, it seems like the correct approach is to obviously split up your commanders, right? You don't really want to have them all in one big clump, because that is a big risk as well, as in many instances you just aren't playing as effective as you ideally want to. Now, of course, they will spawn here as well. You can see in the top right corner, in their health bar, I guess, how much time there is remaining before they will respawn. And they do still have that level advantage, right? Because I've been spending so much time fighting them and turning in these crystals and getting the objectives and all that, that I still have to be careful. Like, this is not necessarily game over just yet. Now, once again, though, if they're running in one by one like this guy, like this computer, I guess, there are a lot of crazy moves that you can make. But I gotta be honest, I really... Oh, I just actually accidentally hit my tripod right there. I guess my webcam, or my camera rather, moved around. But regardless, like... There's a lot of potential strategy here, and there are a lot of options available that make this a very interesting game. And I gotta tell you, it's actually a lot more enjoyable than I had anticipated initially. Now, in general, right, I would not recommend buying early access titles. I've said that 100 times before. I don't think it's a good idea, just because there's only so many bugs that they will be able to fix in that short amount of time. But, you know, I think this is already at a point where at the very least it's worth checking out. Because one of the things to note here as well is that they're not asking a full price title. If they would be asking 60 or 50 bucks for this game, I would never in a million years have recommended it to you. But the nice thing is... Oh, I accidentally leveled up Warhead just now. Did not mean to do that. But the nice thing is that this game, I believe it's like 20 euro right now. Which is definitely a reasonable price. And at the very least, they're actually turning in right now. At the very least, you know, it makes it at a price point where... You know, it's at least not expected to be like a fully priced game either, right? Because some of the recent developments in video games, for some odd reason, they've been, you know, anticipating some crazy wins or something. Because in many instances, they end up asking crazy prices for games that are just not worth it. And so far, I feel like this game, at the very least, from my humble point of view, I guess, has been living up to its expectation in being like a solid 1 versus 1 hero brawler type of game with some RTS elements. Now, you can argue here that there aren't a whole lot of RTS elements and that, you know, there could be a whole lot more of them because there's no base building and there's really not a whole lot involved other than, like, you know, the out-of-game shenanigans where you can set up your other pilots and you can set yourself up for a bit more of a powerful squad for the next match. And obviously you can try and counter the opponent's compositions if you're, like, for example, playing a best of 5. There are RTS elements in that sense, and of course it is still a real-time strategy game, but there is no, like, there's no base building or whatever involved, right? There's not really anything along those lines, but it still makes for a fun experience, and I mean, I have been pleasantly surprised. I'll leave it at that. I have been pleasantly surprised with how smooth this game has been running. While I have been running into some bugs, it is still early access. You know, the people that have been making this game seem cool. Like yesterday on the live stream, like I said, quite a lot of the developers came and hang out. Obviously, you know, must be pretty cool to make a game for a very long time and then finally get it into the hands of the players, I suppose. But regardless, like, they came and hung out on the live stream and they seem to really enjoy the fact that, you know, I managed to beat some of them in my very first attempt. I guess being a StarCraft nerd helps out a lot in that regard. But there's definitely a lot of potential in titles like this, because as it is right now, there's just simply not a whole lot of 1 versus 1, you know, games out there that are really worth checking out. I mean, sure, you can play some of them, and some of them are indeed reasonable, but this definitely turned out to be more enjoyable than I had anticipated when I first heard of it quite a little while ago. Now, with 1 minute and 45 seconds on the clock, this match will indeed be over very shortly. Trying to take out this thing here as well, which does indeed give me another upgrade, so I can get recon here to a higher level. Now, they are playing very awkwardly. Okay. Don't want to lose any of my commanders if I can at all avoid that. I do have the thrusters available now as well, since he's now level 4. And... ooh, I gotta get careful, actually. Oh, I'm so low. I'm so low. Looks like we're fine, though. Looks like we're okay. But anyway, like you can see, there's quite a lot of potential here for some epic engagements, and I've had some really cool moments where I didn't anticipate me winning, but then just simply by better control, I ended up taking a victory off of other players. And, you know, really, like, the level advantages are super important. They really are one of the most crucial aspects of this game. Now, I can run across here, which will be okay. We're getting another bunch of points in here. And here's the thing, right? There is no way they're going to be able to do a whole lot. So now, we'll try and return these two heroes to the base so they can heal up for a little while longer. I'll try and just simply drop this one. I dropped this one, by the way, on one of my other commanders and one of my other pilots, rather. I'm trying to get these back in. Gotta be careful of his stun, actually. But it looks like we're good to go. And I can indeed start pushing onwards. So you can see right here, right? I could have actually had level 5 if I didn't accidentally level up Warhead here. But you can see, like, you don't get a ton of levels, so it's not like you really have to be super careful. But still. I think I will be able to just win this one right here, right now, though. Because there's not a whole lot he will be able to do against me. You can see, their Warhead does stay alive for a very long time. But in the end, we ended up obtaining the victory right here. Very, very, very convincingly. Now, there is indeed this shop icon right here in the game as well. And I tried asking the developers of the game yesterday on the live stream, right, what exactly the plan of this was. And it turns out that you can indeed buy these crates. And these crates that you can purchase, you can either get them with in-game gold. I actually currently don't have any available right here, but let me try. I haven't actually bought any yet, but say I want to buy this one right here. You can purchase it also with this Feds, apparently, FEDs. I'm not entirely sure what it is. You can buy them with in-game gold, and basically what happens is that apparently you can get bunches of gear out of this. When you get started with the game, you get only one copy of each set of gear. And if you want to have it on like several characters at once, you can indeed get them out of these crates. But I tried emphasizing it 100 times yesterday when asking the devs, and there is no additional power gain that you gain from these weapon crates, or from these gear crates rather. You can just simply open them up right there, and you can unlock another, like, apparently I just unlocked the core hammer right here, which is a passive ability I can add on one of the other commanders. There is no like... There's no like power gain or like power spike that you gain with these. You can indeed obviously mess around with a couple more items, and that is all fine and dandy. But as far as my current understanding goes, you are not buying any power whatsoever. Now, there is also a tab right here for pilots. So I'm assuming here that for like future releases of additional pilots, you may have to go ahead and purchase those, which I guess is fair game because there's already 12 of them to choose from right now. And other than that, you know, it is pretty straightforward the way that everything is set up. There are currently some leaderboards. Apparently I fell down a bunch overnight. I'm currently at rank 123, which does mean that I'm not showing up on a leaderboard right here. But there's definitely quite a lot of potential in this game, and I figured that, considering most of you that watch these videos are interested in RTS games, at the very least I'm making that assumption, I figured that some of you may very well want to go ahead and check out this game as well. So if you enjoyed this video, if you would like me to make more of these kinds of videos, because if you are a viewer of the stream, right, you are probably aware of the fact that I do check out quite a lot of games. I just don't always end up making videos about them. If you are liking this video and you like the way I'm approaching these, definitely let me know down below in the comment section of the video. If you have any kind of like feedback or any improvements rather that you would like me to make to these, definitely let me know as well, because there are many cool games out there that you know, I would like to share with you, and I think this is definitely one of them. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, make sure you hit the like button. If you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well so you get a notification as soon as I upload more. And while you're at it, you can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Links are in the description. I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I will see you in the next one.